Hello, everyone, and welcome to Slash Film Daily for September 26, 2018. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the latest film and TV news and try to get to some of the letters in the mailbag. This is Slash Film Editor-in-Chief Peter Soretta. And joining me on today's podcast is Slash Film writers Huai-Tran Bui.
Hey, everyone.
And Chris Evangelista.
Hello.
Guys, I made the mistake yesterday of asking a health weight loss question on Twitter, and I got like hundreds of responses, from some educated people, some nutritionists, some smart people. But it's funny, like everything on the internet, the responses were like divided 50-50, with everybody telling me to do something completely different. So
what were they divided between? Like, what was the majority of the responses?
Well, my question was, I hate even bringing this up here because I know that we'll get responses in the mailbag, and I think I've already come to a conclusion, is, I'm on a new diet, and I'm using this weight loss tracker, like an app, and, because I have my Apple Watch, it registers, I've been going on a walk to go get lunch every day now, and it registers how many calories I'm burning while I'm going for this walk, which isn't like a whole lot. It's like, 400 calories or whatever. But, the weight loss app by default was taking my exercise calories and adding it to my allotment of calories for the day that I could eat. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So on a diet, you're at a deficit of calories, to lose weight. And this was like basically giving me back the calories that I had burned off on my walk. And I was basically asking, should that be? Because there's a setting to turn that off so that I do not, consume the calories that I have burnt off. And it seems like everybody's just has different ways of thinking of this. There's some people that say that, if you cut too many calories, your body will go into starvation mode. There's some educated people that point out that there's a lot of people doing intermittent fasting, and their bodies are not going into...
I don't believe in that.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that, but they point out that those people are doing it, and their bodies are not going into starvation mode. So I don't know. I think I've come to the conclusion, as long as I'm not, doing huge hikes and climbing up mountains and doing marathons, that I'm just not going to consume the calories that I'm burning off and keep those as bonus weight loss, I think. But now that I've said that, I'm probably going to get a bunch of letters in the mailbag, and please don't. I don't need it. I didn't mean for this opening banter to go this long, but yeah. So let's jump into the news. Let's start off with Halloween and how it's tracking at the box office. Chris, how much does it look like Halloween is going to make when it comes out?
Halloween is on track to maybe have the biggest opening in the franchise's history, which is pretty good. This is early projection, and it could turn out to be wrong, but right now it looks like it's leading towards a $50 to $60 million opening weekend, which, if so, would beat the previous record holder, which is Rob Zombie's Halloween, which had a $26 million opening weekend. And obviously, the first film was a big hit too, but you have to factor in inflation and all that stuff.
So, how does this compare to the rest of the franchise?
It's pretty much the highest of all. I mean, after the Rob Zombie one, it goes down to like the 16 millions, and there actually isn't a record of the original Halloween's opening weekend anywhere online because I guess it was just too long ago. So
that is insane.
Yeah,
that we do not have a record for that because. What year was that? In the 1970s?
1978.
That is scary to me. Well, it's exciting that this film is it looks like it's going to do well because that means we could be getting more of them. I know you're a big fan of Halloween. If this does well and they decide to make more of them, is that something you want?
See, I don't know because, I don't want to give away spoilers or anything, but this film, it like restores the franchise to, what it hasn't been in a while. And I want to just stay that way. I'm worried like the more they make, the more they're going to like screw it up again and start making bad movies again. So I don't want that to happen. But at the same time, if the same people came back, I'd be willing. I obviously wouldn't be like, oh, I'm not seeing that. So,
Okay, let's move on to James Wan, who is going to be producing a remake of Train to Busan. Is that how you pronounce it?
Busan.
Busan. And this is from the Nun writer Gary Dauberman. HT, you wrote about this for the site. What do we know?
Yeah, speaking of horror films in which the original is untouchable, Train to Busan was a huge South Korean hit, which managed to be one of the highest-grossing films in South Korea in 2016, and was a worldwide hit as well. And of course, that means it's getting an American remake. James Wan will be producing this American remake with Gary Dauberman set to pen the remake, which is still untitled, likely be titled something like Train to Boston or something. I'm not sure, but currently there's a bloody bidding war taking place over the rights to the project, with New Line, Universal, Paramount, Lionsgate, and Screen Gems going to bat over this remake. That's also a pun, by the way, because there is a bat that's used in this film. The original film is phenomenal. It's, I think, one of the best zombie films from this past decade, and it's so good. The news has actually incited a bit of anger over the internet, right, Peter?
Oh, yes. Some of our tweets about the news get like almost no reaction. There's a couple dozen retweets or favorites and a couple, responses. But this one, looking at my Twitter analytics, has reached over 500,000 people because people are responding and, quote, retweeting, basically almost unanimously just saying, read the fucking subtitles. So I don't think people want this remake. I have not seen this film.
It's so good. I think it's still on Netflix. At least I saw it on Netflix a few months ago, and it's amazing. Definitely worth the subtitles if you are reluctant to get into that. But it's so good. It's so brutal and just balls to the wall violence in the way that a lot of South Korean horror thrillers are. And it has a surprisingly emotional core as well. I also might be a little biased because I have a huge crush on the lead, Gong Yoo, but he's not even the highlight of this film. All the supporting characters are so good.
Chris, you're a big horror guy. Have you seen this?
I have. It's great, and it really does not need a remake. And yeah, I said on Twitter, I'm guessing it's going to be called like Train to Delaware or something like that. I can't imagine like what they're going to call it.
What is the unique angle to this that will, differentiate it from other zombie films, in the U.S. World?
Well, it's exactly like it sounds like. It's a zombie film that takes place exclusively on a train, so it has that claustrophobic, atmosphere to it, and yet it manages to just keep barreling on despite being taking place in one setting, essentially. At some points, they stop in various stations and realize that those places are overrun as well. And essentially, it's on a train while a zombie virus breaks out in all of South Korea, and they are kind of the last to realize it until it's too late.
Has anybody done a Zombies on a Plane movie yet? I feel like if anybody knows this, Chris is the one that has the answer.
Yes, they have. I forget what it's called, but they have. It's not good.
Yeah, no, I think the train conceit probably allows them to do a lot more that, the plane would be a lot more contained and less exciting. I am going to go I'm going to go check this out because of all these tweets. I actually had to mute the tweet on my mentions because my mentions were just completely unreadable because of all these people just responding to the article, which HT you wrote, and it's not like you were like excited for this remake.
Well, I'm surprisingly not angry about it either, because I think James Wan is really talented, and he, created the entire Conjuring universe, which is like one of the few horror cinematic universes today. I think in his hands, this wouldn't be a bad remake, even though the original, again, is perfect. I think the premise is so simple and kind of bare bones that you really could put it anywhere. It might not, or probably wouldn't measure up to the original.
Yeah, and of course, James Wan is going to produce. He's not going to direct. When I was visiting him in the editing room of the Aquaman editing room, one of the first questions I asked was a question that our own Chris had, and that was like, when are you ever going to direct another horror movie? And his answer was kind of disappointing. It was kind of, he brought up Sam Raimi's Drag Me to Hell, and basically said, like, Sam Raimi found a way back. I'll eventually find a way back. So I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. I would be more excited for this movie, I think, if Wan was actually directing. But like you said, he has produced some good horror films as well. Chris, are you just totally not interested in this remake?
I don't know. I mean, it depends on who they hire to direct it and, all that stuff. But I really don't think, the original is indeed still on Netflix. So you could just go watch that. Like, you don't really need to remake this, especially so soon.
Okay, so check that out on Netflix. Let's move on to a big bit of comic book casting news. And that is that Birds of Prey have cast 2 new actresses for the film. Chris, tell us about it.
Yes. So, a few days ago, we wrote up a story about how a bunch of actresses were reading for various parts in the film. And now 2 have been cast. Mary Elizabeth Winstead is going to play Huntress, and Jurnee Smollett-Bell is going to play Black Canary in the film. And, of course, Margot Robbie is starring in the film as Harley Quinn. And this is going to be Warner Brothers' big DC female-driven team film, which is set to open in February of 2020.
I mean, what differentiates this from the other DC films that we know about so far, just in case people aren't following Birds of Prey?
Well, I mean, it's got there's a female director, which is a lot different. I mean, DC obviously has Patty Jenkins, but up until now, she was the only female director they had. I don't know. I don't know what differentiates this from a DC film, just because, I haven't seen it yet. And there's always a chance, it'll turn out to be bad, just like all the other DC films except Wonder Woman. But I'm a little more optimistic for this, just because it just seems like they're really gathering a good amount of talent to, make this happen.
Yeah, no, it does seem like they are. The cast is actually a good cast. I know Mary Elizabeth Winstead is very picky on the role she takes, and she's being offered a lot of big stuff that she's turned down. So for her to take this, I think, is maybe a vote of confidence. And I did want to point out that Caitlin Booth, who is also a journalist, pointed out on Twitter that now this has been, I think, 5 or 6 people that were in Edgar Wright's Scott Pilgrim vs. the World who have since become superheroes. So that's Mary Elizabeth Winstead. There's Brie Larson, Chris Evans, who I guess was a superhero
Brandon
before
Routh.
that. But he was a superhero before that too.
Oh, that's true.
Aubrey Plaza, who I guess technically in Legion. Mae Whitman voices Batgirl in the animated stuff, and I think someday we might see like Anna Kendrick, who wanted to be Squirrel Girl. I would love to see Ellen Wong as a superhero. So I just feel like, anybody who is casting a superhero movie, just look to the films of Edgar Wright, right?
I think what we're all waiting for is a Michael Cera superhero movie.
That would be so weird. I don't even know what character that could possibly be. Maybe the Michael Cera Lex Luthor story. That would be weird.
He was in Lego Batman, wasn't he? Robin in Lego Batman.
There's that. Oh, you're right.
So there is another one. So that's like more than 5. I'm not going to count on there, but that's a lot of Edgar Wright regulars who moved on to become superheroes. But let's move on to Star Wars. Some big Star Wars news dropped today at the Oculus conference. HJ, tell us about it.
Yes, so David Goyer's secret Darth Vader VR project, which he has been teasing for the past 2 years, has now been revealed to be called Star Wars Vader Immortal, with a new trailer that has been dropped at the Oculus Connect event. And it's a collaboration between Lucasfilm's ILMxLab and Oculus. It's a VR project that will be a 3-part experience in which the player will get transported to Darth Vader's headquarters in Mustafar and presumably either work with him or face off against him. It's not sure. It's not certain, because in the trailer, the very brief trailer we see, he speaks to the player and then activates his lightsaber. So it could be either or. So this is a project that will be debuted exclusively on Oculus Quest, which is a standalone virtual reality headset that is launching in spring of 2019. And this will be the launch project of Oculus Quest.
Now, this is interesting for a variety of reasons. I do want to point out that, like, it seems like they're trying to do this very connected world. Like, there was this whole Secrets of the Empire experience at the Void. I think I'm the only one on this podcast that experienced it. And I'm not a video gamer. I'm not even a big proponent of VR, but experiencing Secrets of the Empire and feeling like you are inside the world of Star Wars was incredible. And I can definitely see the draw of it. The interesting thing is, like, that experience kind of sets up, I'm not going to spoil anything, but there's a kind of like a secret weapon of some kind that is set up. And apparently some of the things that are kind of set up in there that are actually also referenced in Rogue One, are going to tie into these projects and lead into a larger story and connect. I do find the title to be a little weird, like Vader Immortal, because we know he's not immortal, right? But I'm wondering, in the prequels, his master talked about the power to escape death, and obviously he was not able to escape death, the Emperor. And I know in the expanded universe Star Wars stuff, the Emperor was, after Return of the Jedi, trying to seek out some stuff that he was unable to get his hands on, or that he had, it gets complicated, but he had like a robotic version of him trying to find this. Anyways, there has been some speculation that he was trying to find these ancient, Jedi texts or whatever that would allow you to live forever, the cure to death, or something like that. And I'm wondering, and I know J.J. Abrams probably didn't have any intention in this when he wrote Star Wars The Force Awakens, but there is that line that Kylo Ren says that I'll finish what you started. I'm wondering if there is something to this, all of this, like that there is something to the immortal thing that is going to play in part of Episode 9. Probably not. I'm probably reading way too much into this. I'm like any Star Wars geek. But HD, what do you think?
I mean, that's possible because I think Goyer has teased before that this will be canon. This Darth Vader Immortal experience will be part of the greater Star Wars saga. So it's possible that this could be a tie-in with the upcoming Episode 9.
Yeah. Have you guys... I think we've talked about VR in the past, but like... Does this excite you, like a Star Wars episodic experience written by, Hollywood screenwriter and producer? Like, does that get you more excited about VR?
I can't say it does. I've never actually experienced anything like truly VR before. I've done like little headsets where they put the phone in, but I've never done like a true VR experience, so I don't really know what to make of it. I know that people who have experience really enjoy it, but I just don't really have anything to go on.
Chris, this would allow you to be in your own house, not be able to. You don't have to leave your doors, and you could be in the universe of Star Wars. You don't have to go to Star Wars Land and spend hundreds of dollars.
I don't know. I just want to watch stuff. I don't like this. To me is just like like 3D and smell-o-vision. I don't need gimmicks. Just give me a movie. That's all I need. Just give me the movie. I'll watch the movie. I don't want to put a Videodrome device on my head and go into the world. Like I don't need to do that. Sorry.
I'm also as much as I enjoyed that Secrets of the Empire experience, that was cool because it's something called the room scale, which is like they build out like this kind of small or this big room so that like you're walking through hallways and you can feel the virtual hallways. You can open the doors, you can pick up the guns, like they're actual physical objects that you are also seeing in the virtual world. This system, this new Oculus system, is basically for your own home, and I'm kind of with you, Chris. I kind of, when I want to sit back and enjoy a story, I want to kind of sit back and enjoy the story. I don't want to be part of it, and I don't see the benefit of being able to look around because, like, I feel like as a storyteller, I want to look at what the director or the storyteller wants me to look at, and not like behind me at the thing I'm not supposed to look at. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense to me. I mean, again, I know people enjoy this, and that's fine. To each their own. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a curmudgeon-y old man. I don't know, but I don't know. I see this, and every year more and more film festivals add VR to their lineup, and I'm just like, I don't care. I just want to watch a movie. But that's me.
You're not even excited about like the big auteurs doing like VR experiences, like didn't
not really.
Alejandro
Nah, I don't. I just want to watch a movie. That's it. That's all I want. Don't stop complicating it. That's all.
Okay, let's move on to our last and final story, and this is some big important news. Apparently, Aquaman features lots of water vomiting scenes. Chris, tell us about this.
Yes, this is the most important DC news you're going to hear probably all year. I'll let the listeners go over to slashfilm.com to read James Wan's very lengthy explanation, but it boils down to this. When certain Atlanteans come out of the water onto dry land, they end up throwing up water just because, that's what they're ingesting all the time under the sea. So when you go see Aquaman, you can expect to see at least several scenes where certain actors, including Nicole Kidman, just throw up some water. So there you have it. I think this is what the DCEU has been missing the entire time. So I think this is going to put them over the top. This is finally going to be the film everyone gathers around and applauds strictly because it has water vomiting.
So pee jokes and water vomiting. I will say, like, if you read James Wan's explanation for this, it seems like very well thought out of like, how would creatures that live underneath water, when they come out of water, what would happen? Like, it seems like he put a lot more thought into this than I think most of the other people working in the DCEU.
Yeah, I mean, all kidding aside, he does have a very detailed explanation. Like, I know if I were making Aquaman and someone asked me this question, I'd be like, who cares? Like, just accept it. But he actually put a lot of thought into it. So I appreciate that James Wan actually took this very seriously and put thought into how Atlanteans would operate when they come out of the water.
I find it funny that he thinks he needs to explain that, but then he has this big battle arena scene where jellyfish are lighting the huge Atlantean arena, and there's an octopus playing the drums. It's just like, I don't know.
Well, that's scientifically accurate. You don't need to call that into question.
Okay, guys.
They got all those arms. They play drums.
I think what he really needs to explain is Mara's hair. Like, what is happening with that color red?
It looks so bad. It looks really bad. Okay, we have a few minutes, so let's get into some of the feedback that we've gotten in the mailbag that we've been putting off for a couple weeks now. Lord in Worcester, Massachusetts, writes in that we were talking about The Girl in the Spider's Web, and the new title, The Girl in the Spider's Web, a Dragon Tatoo story. Lord comments that this book is not part of the original Millennium trilogy that the original author wrote. As you probably know, he passed away after completing the first 3 books. This is not a direct sequel to The Girl in the Dragon Tattoo, and I wonder if Sony is trying to make sure people know it's set in the same universe, but not a standalone movie. Do you guys think this subtitle helps clarify that in any way?
I did know that this was based off of a book by a different writer, but I think it is being billed as a direct sequel. I don't know if it's like kind of like something like the DCE where it's a different actress, so it's like a different character or different like I don't know, but
it's very confusing. I don't think that subtitle helps anything. But okay, let's read another letter. Scott A. from Alameda, California, writes in that he implores each of us to check out The Rider. It is a masterful film. While I did not connect with the subject matter as much as other films, the artistry of Chloe Zhao, her cinematographer and editor, are what truly elevate this film, using a wonderful juxtaposition of wide shots to emphasize the emptiness of South Dakota landscape with extreme close-ups touching upon the claustrophobia of Brady's tragic situation. The film highlighted the type of director that Zhao is. The writer was in my top 5 at the half-year mark, and while it may have slipped down, it's definitely a film worth watching. I think Chris especially would love it. A high recommend, and I think Marvel hiring Zhao is a inspired choice. So Chris, why haven't you seen this yet?
All right, listen, listeners, someone write into me and tell me if the horse dies or not. Because if the horse dies, I'm not going to watch this. That's what's holding me up. I have this bad feeling that horse is...
There is a website that actually tracks all that. You can look up any movie and see if there is any, on-screen, not like animals die in the production, but...
I'm afraid. I want someone to tell me. I don't know. I have this weird thing where if people die in movies, I don't care. But if an animal dies, I get very upset. So that's what's been holding me back, because I have this really bad feeling this movie's going to end with the horse dying, and I'm not going to be able to handle it. So someone tell me, if the horse doesn't die, I will watch this. But if the horse dies, I'm sorry, it's a no from me.
I have a good friend named Molly who tried to watch House of Cards in that first episode. I think at the beginning of the first episode. So I guess this isn't much of a spoiler, but a dog gets run over or something by a car.
Yeah, a dog gets run over, and Kevin Spacey puts it out of its misery. But thankfully, it's off screen, so I can sort of handle that.
Yeah, well, she had to shut off the show, and she never watched the show just because of that. So you can get through something like that. It's not that doesn't isn't a complete roadblock.
It depends on how it's depicted. If it's off screen, like it is in that House of Cards thing, I can sort of handle it, although it will upset me. But if there's on screen animal death, I can't do it. I can't take it. So like I said, someone tell me if this ends with whatever the horse's name is dying, I'm not gonna be able to do it. So I'll have to wait and see.
HJ, I gotta know, are you affected at all by on-screen animal deaths?
No. Would it make me sound really bad if I said that after I saw Okja, I started craving bacon?
Oh, jeez.
Wow.
I was wow, that jerky looks really good.
That is horrible. That's horrible.
Yeah, no. I'm a good person. I don't hate animals.
That's actually the movie. Okja is actually the movie that made me go full vegetarian. I wasn't a vegetarian before I saw that movie.
Oh wow!
And that's what changed me. So I like that we had the complete opposite reaction to that.
Jeez. Okay, let's read another. We had that Predator episode where we were talking about all the kind of flaws or plot holes of the movie. Prince from New York City writes in, I'll agree that everything went downhill at the Cadillac commercial in the woods, but your complaint seemed loony. Plot holes in a Predator movie? Really? We enjoyed the movie except for the final scene. It was fast and fun and dumb. You don't go to Applebee's for fine dining. And you don't go to Predator movies thinking there will be no plot holes. Tighten up. What do you guys have to say with this? Should we just expect less from certain franchises and certain types of movies, or should we, or should we view things in the Nolan viewpoint of everything has the potential to be, elevated?
I haven't seen Predator yet, but I just want to say I like the line a lot. You don't go to Applebee's for fine dining. That's great.
Hey, what if I do go to Applebee's for fine dining?
Then you are living your life wrong, Peter.
Chris, do you have any thoughts on
I mean, I don't like this argument. I mean, I do actually think, Peter, a lot of your plot hole problems with Predator were a bit silly, but at the same time, I also feel I feel like we shouldn't let anything off the hook. I feel like we should want every sort of film, every sort of entertainment to strive to be better. So if you just want to blithely be I wanted that to be stupid, I feel like you're you're cheating. You should want things to be better. But, again, I know that's not everyone's opinion.
Yeah, you don't go to Applebee's being give me the crappy food you're serving today. I mean, you go there because you are craving
sustenance. You're craving some sort of enjoyment. No one goes out to eat and is
yeah,
oh man, I hope this is terrible. No one is thinking like that.
I was trying to think of a signature dish of Applebee's, but I don't think there is a signature dish. Maybe you go to Outback steakhouse for the Awesome Blossom, even though it's going to be really bad. I don't know. I'm not sure where I'm going with this analogy, but to your point, Chris, I don't think I was like the cinema sins of plot holes. I wasn't pointing out like things that weren't there. They were actually definitely there. And to that point, Jacob C. from Mississippi writes in saying that he cannot believe that Peter was made fun of so much and by how confused he was in the movie. I totally and completely agree with you on every point you made. The movie was edited extremely horribly, and I couldn't tell what was going on half the time. I shame Brad for making fun of you with the nerd voice. That was uncalled for. It made no sense, and it was a trash movie. Also, the depiction of Tourette's syndrome was extremely bad. My dad and I both have Tourette's, and we laughed the whole time, or the whole movie, at Thomas Jane's depiction of it because of how inaccurate and offensive it was. Tourette's is rarely that severe, and when it is that bad, it doesn't look like that. Literally, its only purpose was to set up some really bad jokes. And it's interesting that we actually got someone to write in about that, because that was something I had a problem with, because I grew up with in high school, one of my best friends had Tourette's syndrome, and it was just nothing like it's depicted in movies, and especially being used as kind of comic relief. It felt kind of offensive. I'm glad they could laugh at it in some way, though. And let's get to a couple more emails. We were on the podcast, I think, a week or two ago, and we asked, is anybody out there listening to us? We were yelling out into the void, asking, is anybody out there actually excited for Venom? And if so, to write us in, or write in an email. We did get, out of our audience of thousands and thousands, we got 2 emails, guys. We got one from Michael R., who said, the reason why he's excited is Tom Hardy usually chooses wisely. That, of course, looks like it will change, but people think it looks more like a scary version of Deadpool, and that's why he thinks people are excited for it. So, Chris, do you think Tom Hardy's career choices might indicate that there might be something more to this film than what we're seeing?
I mean, that's definitely a possibility. I do think Tom Hardy is a really good actor, even though he does do very goofy voices. Especially in this, he's doing a very goofy voice. But I also do think he's a very serious actor. He takes his craft really seriously, and I do think he wouldn't just casually do something. So maybe he did see something in the script, but whatever he saw, I'm not seeing it, so I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it either. Scott A. from Alameda, California, again, he writes in, he has a long email, which I will have the whole thing. We'll have the whole thing of all these emails in the show notes. But he basically says that he's one of these mysterious folk that are actually excited to see Venom. He is one of those Marvel zombies from way back, and even though he acknowledges that the movie is probably going to be really bad, and the trailers have not looked. He says the trailers have looked terrible. For us 1990s Spider-Man lovers, Venom was the go-to villain. His character design, his intensity, his ability to toy with Spider-Man made him a character who you rooted for almost as much as the main character. And basically he's saying that the character design of Venom in this film is enough. They got that right, and that's enough to make him want to use his AMC A-list to go see this movie in theaters. Have you guys ever been so attached to the source material of something that when Hollywood made a movie adaptation out of it, that even though it looked like complete crap, you still were there opening night to see it?
Oh yeah, I mean, we talked about it a few episodes back, but Last Airbender. I went to see it opening night, and it was a very bad decision.
How about you, Chris?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I'm sure it's happened, but I mean, I was a huge Batman fan growing up, so I really excitedly went to see Batman and Robin when that opened. But that was like a different time. Like, trailers online were as prevalent. So I don't think I really had any inclination that it was going to be as bad as it was when I saw it. But I was excited to see it at the time.
Yeah, and I think I've mentioned this on the air before, but The Sound of Thunder is this good book. And I think in the late 90s, early 2000s, they made a Hollywood version of it with horrible visual effects, and it's a bad movie. And all the trailers made it look bad, but I was so excited to see it in theaters, and it was not good. So it happens. It happens every once in a while. But we have gone over the time. Thank you both for joining me. HT, where can people find more of your work online?
You can find me every day at slashfilm.com, and I'm on Twitter at htranbui.
Chris, where can people find your work?
I'm at slashfilm.com as well, and I'm on Twitter at cevangelista413.
You can find me at slashfilm on all social media. You can find all the articles we talked about on today's show on slashfilm.com and linked in the show notes. This podcast, Slash Film Daily, is published every weekday on iTunes, Google Play, Overcast, Spotify, all the popular podcast apps, alongside slashfilm.com. And if you want to send your letter to the mailbag, your feedback, questions, comments, or concerns, send them to peter@slashfilm.com. We can't guarantee you that they'll make it on the air, but if they do, please leave your name and general geographic location in case we do mention it. And please, as always, go give us a good review on iTunes. Tell your friends, spread the word. We'll see you tomorrow. Okay, guys, that was good. I feel like you're going to get angry letters for the Okja thing.
Me?
Yes.
I'm not a terrible person. It's just I have a weird reaction sometimes. Like, for example, whenever I watched Hannibal, I got very hungry.
Yeah, but that's people, so that's different.
Yeah,
Wait a second. When you watched Hannibal, you got really hungry?
Those dishes were designed beautifully.
No, I agree. I got hungry too, but again, that's people. If he were cooking animals, I'd be like, oh no, I can't watch this. But people, it's fine.
You guys are monsters.
I could never give up meat. I'm sorry. People don't hate me. I'm a good person. I like dogs. I'm allergic to cats, but I like them too.
Have you ever been to a cat cafe?
No. I don't think I could handle it because I probably would, like, my throat would close up, but I'm sure it's very nice.
And if you did, you'd probably want to eat one of them, so.
No.